Yes, y'all. Greetings and good day, good morning, good evening, afternoon, wherever you are. This is Odessa, and we are back. Today, I wanted to begin with introducing you to some of my relaxation techniques. And I'd love for you to just take one of your hands and place it over the center of your chest and pay attention to the connection, the point of connection between your hand on your chest, on your sternum, in the heart region, and just breathe. Inhaling and exhaling. Hey, girl. Inhaling and exhaling. Just breathing, right? We want to signal to our body that we're safe. That's right. We're signaling to our body that we're safe, signaling to our nervous system that we're safe, and just creating a sense of well being and calm. While doing this, you will probably begin to feel a bit of a releasing or relaxing in the area of the chest, of the breast, behind the sternum, where you should be rubbing. And I want to invite you to do this as often as you need when you are looking for a moment to center yourself, if you're looking for an exercise. If you're having a stressed out moment, stressed out because of people, things, experiences, and to know that you're achieving results, you can feel like sighing, you might want to burp, you might feel tingling sensation, you may feel emotions, you may feel even a little bit of irritability based off of how your body is holding tension and how it chooses to relax. Okay, so I hope that was helpful for you today. I wanted to continue on with our series discussing the lyrics, the content of the song Growing, I'll Get There. Last week, we delved into the first line of the song. I've never had to put, oh, not the first line, that's the second line. I've never had to stand on my 2 feet before. I'd rather be shown the way. And here we talked about the idea of being in alignment, right? We're looking at the cycle of healing emotional wounds. We're looking at understanding that, there's more to understanding. There's more to a circumstance and how we process it and how we move through it and how we heal and what we glean from it. And this song represents a small clip or like a small piece, a small blip in time of that, right? And so today we're going to look at the second principle in our cycle of healing emotional wounds, healing emotional trauma, which is crises. So we start off in alignment. We start off feeling as though things are going well, right? We've come out of an incubation period, or we have experienced the mountain peak, or maybe we have been in the valley and now we're coming to a point of neutrality, right? In that point of neutrality, we consider ourselves to be in alignment. Things are going well. There's a level of understanding. There might be a fluidity of ebb and flow in how you process the impact of such ebb and flows, right? And in that space of beingness, what often happens is we'll have an urge for something more. So we'll look for a new outcome. We'll want to achieve new milestones, right? The ideal state that we're searching for, the ideal person or personification of what we think we came here to be, has yet to be discovered, right? And so we move forward looking for more. So more experience, a happier life, a healthier life, whatever the circumstances are. But in that alignment and in that move towards more, what happens is you call forth crises. And crises comes because the change that you required, the goal, the outcome that you are going to strive towards, that you want, requires you to become something new, something bigger, right? It requires that the onion kind of split open and more of you come out. And so that process there we'll call the crises, because this is where mm, things may not work out for you anymore, right? It doesn't seem like as though it's working out. So the second lyric is, I've never had to put my comfort on ice before. I'd rather have it my way, right? So that comfort is coming from that space of alignment, that space of, well, things are my way or the highway, or I've always done this, or this is what was given to me and how I continue to be, or I don't know any different and I don't necessarily want to change, or maybe, I've tried to change and I don't like how it feels. So I'm going to stay in this space of comfort, kind of riding the fence, right? That's kind of what being in alignment feels like at some moment. Then you choose whether you're going to take the step further in. You choose whether you're going to engage more. You choose whether you're going to allow a deeper process to move through your body, right? And so I've never had to stand on my 2 feet before. I'd rather be shown the way. So within alignment, there's this birth and this urge to move forward and the possible frustration that comes with that, right? But then there's that aspect of things are going well and the yearning for more and the call for crises. And so even in the whole birth process, we can think about, the congenital issues that a person will have, or accidents that a person might have, or by chance happenstance things that occur during the birthing process, right? The question is, how are you answering the call of the crises? Because while we were talking about alignment in the previous video, we were looking at the kind of pedestal that society puts alignment on, like this very fine tightrope that you must walk. And if you fall off of the tightrope, then most people will perceive that as a really negative thing and maybe take it hard and, look at that as defeat. Whereas inner defeat, and kind of carry that around for a while. Whereas if you understand alignment from a broader context, then it gives for a different way of approaching and handling circumstances and crises when they come up in your life, right? Because you see it as a part of the process, not as a break in the process, right? Because answering the call determines what you understand. So it's important that we understand a breakdown is necessary in everything. Anytime you're about to level up, the breakdowns, they come, right? In your health, you're out to start something, you're going through something, or, you're making strides, and then boom, you become ill. Or in your work, you're striving towards this and you're making the kind of choices that are right for you on your job, in your life, whatever of the nature. But then, something happens, a crisis comes. How are you handling that, right? It comes as illness, it comes as job loss, it comes as rejection. And so within that, there's a power struggle that comes up. There's the ego struggle that a person is dealing with, right? There's your health struggle that you're dealing with. There's so many different things that come up that will represent a crisis in our lives. What do you usually try to do when a crisis comes up? Like, what is your go-to? And these are the things that we want to start paying attention to, right? Oftentimes there's a overindulgence, right? There's a crisis that's coming up. I'm in the middle of something difficult. It feels uncomfortable. I don't know what it is. I may or may not be handling it very well. One of my first go-tos may be to indulge. Indulge in what? I don't know, shopping, drinking, going out partying, sex, smoking, who knows, right? Another way would also be just struggling in your strut, right? The crisis has come up, the issue has come up because you are wanting more for yourself, for your immediate environment, for the larger environment around you. Who knows, right? But you and yourself, you're struggling because you're coping. You're coping and you're saving face. And you may even be lying to yourself about what's happening. You may not even give yourself the grace to accept that change is happening, right? Sometimes this is what happens. Oftentimes, there's a level of defeat that people go through, right? And so change is inevitable. Okay. If you can't change something if you can't change what something that needs to be changed and you try to hide it and you try to run from it, right? It can haunt you. People will say that, things that I've wanted, things that I've dreamed for, things that I've, that come up as a need that needs to get done, or, the next stage, the next phase, the person all the different things. If you're not fulfilling yourself, it haunts you. It comes back. And it shows up, especially if others are achieving goals that you yourself set out to do but never did. So this idea of going into crises is really there as a form of, breaking the mirror into many pieces so we can really see the versions of who we are, right? There's a soul calling, there's a wanting more. It's almost like the hero's journey that happens, right? And so within recognizing the crisis is happening and the trauma is happening, and it's there for change, it's there to bring change, right? Then how are you able to step into that? How can you step forward with your best self? How can you, right, move out of the comfort area that was restricting you? Because this is the problem, right? You're comfortable in what you have, you're comfortable with who you are, with the levels that you've achieved, and there's a level of alignment that you want to maintain. But if there's more for you, if life is offering you more, richer experiences, happier experiences, deeper love experiences, healthier weight loss experiences, right? Energy surge experiences, financial freedom experiences, right? You have to step out of your comfort zone, and stepping out of your comfort zone feels like a crisis, feels like a war zone, because you're not used to. Now you have to renegotiate spaces. You have to put your comfort on ice. I've always had it my way. Whoa, whoa, slow down. Sometimes I have clients um, who I work with. And I'd say actually it kind of leans more into people who are more familiar with me. Sometimes their response to the work is like, okay, well, do it on my time. Do this when I want it to be done. Do this when, and it's like, it doesn't work like that. you know, um, you are requiring something new, and the work needs to be done in a particular way to get results. And if you are choosing to remain in the environment that you've always been in, you will continue to get the results that you want, and the outcome that you're striving towards may never actually come into full fruition. It might, but it may not come into full fruition. By giving yourself the opportunity to step out of your comfort zone and saying and recognize and embrace the change, embrace the crises, embrace the breakdown, the power struggle, the ego struggle, embrace that this is happening, right? The health struggle, all of these different things, then you're giving yourself the opportunity to meet the people who are waiting for you on the other side. The level of joy, peace, love, and happiness that an individual experiences once you've gone through a process, gone to the other side of the process and completed it, right? You're not the same person. You don't think the same. You don't act the same. You look back and you can recognize who you were and what you had to do to become the transformation you are now. And that transformation. And so if we look at the next process and we're moving forward into who you want to become and where you want to reach, there are a number of people and opportunities that are waiting for you to step in and through your personal alchemization, right? They're waiting for you to go through this process and do the work so that you can be in their environment, so that A, they can help you, B, you can help them, you guys can grow together, whatever it is, right? Every new level brings us the energies that we want, the people that we want. The people are waiting to meet you at the energy, right, that you desire to embody, but you can't access them because you aren't ready, right? And so we go through the process, we go through the cycles, and we complete these cycles, but sometimes we get stuck. So if you're like an individual who really has a difficult time handling change, right, then something like this, you most definitely would want to spend more time. If you want to come out of those cycles, you want to spend more time understanding each point along the cycle and where you get stuck, where you shut down, where you walk away, where you decide, I've had enough. We can move on to the next one, start back at the beginning again. It doesn't bother me because that's what I do, right? That type of thing. So I want you to start viewing change and crises as a blessing in the making. Okay. Welcome it as a chance to take apart and rebuild. We're quite afraid to rebuild because I think we're also afraid of what we might find. And I think it's a wonderful time for us to recognize the freedom that we have to explore who we are, explore the world around us, explore the paradigms that you're living in, and why you think the way you do and why you feel the way you do, right? There are just so many resources, and we're at a point, I think, in time where it's really about self accountability, right? It's really about, you know, understanding that you have the power to make the changes that will affect the outcome in a way that puts you in the driver's seat like no other generation or time before, you know? Um, so what happens is, we want to release our restrictions. We want to, allow these problems to come so that they can go, right? Like, what is a change that is required? How can I step into this as opposed to shutting down, right? Because when you shut down and force things out, that actually requires a lot of energy. And that in and of itself means that you have a small leakage that you didn't even realize because you think it's just self-defense, but there's a certain energy that goes into avoiding change, avoiding inevitables, right? That creates a level of deficiency within the self, a constant leakage of energy. And so, by shutting down, you increase your restrictions. You reduce oxygen flow, you reduce permeability of information, of lessons, of opportunities, because you don't want change, right? I've never had to put my comfort on ice before. Please stop. You've gone too far. This is my boundary, right? But maybe the change that is coming towards you is a welcomed change, but you're just too afraid, right, to embrace it. And so what happens is that the problems that you have had before, they themselves can become even more exacerbated because internally things are starting to break down, right? That bottleneck, that natural bottleneck is starting to happen. Why? Because you need to grow. You need to expand. If you're not expanding, if you're not changing, if you're not evolving, then what are you doing? Right? Like you're stunting yourself, you're stunting your growth. This is how I want us to think. This is the kind of perspective that I want us to start taking. You know, it doesn't feel good. And it isn't necessarily supposed to feel good. You know, those memes of healing is messy, what you thought healing was supposed to look like, you know, the sprinkles and the wands and the crowns and all the fairy dust, and then what it looks like. You see a picture of my, you know, Janet Jackson, and her hair is all over the place. It's like, you know, there's work that goes into it, you know. People get to see the fruits of your labor when your skin is glowing. You know what I mean? And you're smiling and laughing all the time. So that's the level of encouragement that I want to give you today, right? So as we continue on, I'm going to come through, and the next time I think we're going to be talking about the chorus. And if you haven't heard the chorus, or if you didn't think you've heard the chorus, just listen to some of the reels, and you'll get the verses inside of there. So I would love to know what your takeaways are, what you think, what your experiences have been with crises, with being faced with crises, with how you've dealt with it, and if you agree. If you find any gems, let me know in the comments below. And if this is something that you want to begin, if you are on a healing journey and you're looking for support, I actually have a program that we are relaunching very, very soon, where you would be able to work through the content at a self-paced rhythm, as well as join the group, as well as experience live calls and have a community and all the things. So if it's something you're interested in, stay tuned and let me know what your comments are below. And I will be back again soon to talk a little bit more and share with you all the things. So good afternoon, good morning, evening, and good night wherever you are. Take care and talk soon.